Sherry Tutkus lives here at the Johnson Square Village, a project which started in 2006. The condos were advertised as modern, green, and affordable, a motto which could have been the future of homes across New England. The condos meant a lot to those on the housing scene, but for residents like Miss Tutkus, the Johnson Square condos were above all, a place she wanted to call home.
I was just recently divorced, and I was looking for a place to live that would be great for my children and I. And when I saw the plans for the development, it's supposed to be a 26-unit development, all solar, all green, and the plans were absolutely amazing. The condos that were up were just absolutely beautiful, energy efficient.
My goal here was to be able to build a unit that was priced that the average working person could afford, that still had all of the renewables and all of the energy features that come in high-end homes.
Dan Perazzo headed the $6 million development with his company, the Johnson Square Builders. But like many good things, these condos were too good to be true. Within months of moving into her condo with her 3 small children, Ms. Tutkus began noticing problems that were going unaddressed, with no fix in sight.
If you look at my front door, it's still not painted. I don't have any screens in. When I moved in, you know how when they're painting, they have paper down on the floors and there's tape. I mean, there's still tape marks. The basement was supposed to be fully furnished, and it was not, or fully finished, I should say.
But despite the war zone appearance and the halted construction, Mr. Perazzo claimed his hands were tied. Midway through the building, his investors, the Community Bank of Brockton, cut his funds. Without the bank's funding, Mr. Perazzo claims he cannot continue the development.
The problem right now is we got into a stalemate with the bank. The bank basically said, you can't do any more construction until you sell 2 more units. The bank had let us go forward with doing the construction, and I don't mean complete the whole project. I'm talking about ongoing construction. So when people came by here on Saturday and they looked at a unit and they brought their mother or father by the following Saturday, something else had happened.
What's more is that besides his financial situation, Mr. Perazzo also mentioned other obstacles that arose only after he had started the project.
A couple of things happened. One, we ran into some issues here with some contaminated soil that cost us over a year to remove, and well over $100,000 to remove. That was stat one. That put us a year behind the market. Then the other issues were the market started to slow down. Real estate market, I don't have to tell you, was pretty much tanked.
When things weren't done or finished in January of 2009, I took matters into my own hands and hired a contractor to finish my basement for me, and then actually submitted a bill to him, which he still hasn't paid to this day.
Mr. Perazzo, however, claims he never received a bill from Ms. Tutkus and argued that he had already completed her basement.
No, she never submitted a bill. She told me she had a bill. One of the issues that I had with her was she didn't hire a contractor to finish her basement. She hired a contractor to do the plastering. Okay?
Mr. Perazzo also mentioned that residents must pay a condo fee, which would cover general repairs and maintenance. He says he told Ms. Tutkus she needed to pay that fee, and in return, he would write her a check to cover the plastering. But she refused.
So I was under warranty.
The dispute over her basement soon became the least of her worries. Ms. Tutkus began contacting lawyers, but she soon abandoned her legal suit after a bigger problem arose. Raw sewage was flooding her basement and needed to be pumped out, which she began documenting with her camera.
And as we see, this is being pumped out of my basement. There's something wrong here. Something really wrong.
What happened especially is in the duplex unit, it's higher than this unit. So any water that came off of the roof from there ran this way. The other issue was with the other 2 foundations that are uncompleted next to this one. When it rained, they got water in them, and they filled up with water.
It's still coming out of my basement. See the water flowing right out of my basement into the foundation right next to me. Look at all that water from my basement being pumped out, all from these properties here.
But just look at what the flooding has done. There is mold and watermarks on her walls, and damaged items are sitting in bins out on her porch. This is what her basement and children's playroom looked like before the flooding, and now she says that is completely destroyed. Ms. Tutkus also has her own photographs documenting the flooding as it progressed.
This is my basement, the furniture in the basement, and this is some flooding as it was starting, and we started measuring it with water, with the paper just to show the progress. The water had actually had been pumped out, but here you go, you can see sewing machine, all my boots, these are all clothes. Sometimes when I'd come home at night, didn't have a clue as to what I was going to come home to. And that's dried fecal material, drying fecal material on my basement floor. These pictures tell it all. I mean, it's disgusting on my basement floor.
The flooding then became a chronic problem that required sump pumps to be installed and running, day and night. But when we asked Mr. Perazzo about the sump pumps, he denied they existed.
Nope. In fact, the unit that we're in does not have a pump in it. And if you look in the sump hole, there's not enough water in there to have it run. And they're all connected. So if you look at one of these, they're all the same.
We explained to him, however, that Mrs. Tutkus did in fact have a running pump in her basement, to which he refused to comment.
I can't make a comment on that without saying something derogatory, and I'll tell you that she's wrong.
Eventually, he admitted that there was a pump. However, he claimed that her situation was already being fixed.
She now has a pump that's connected to a line that's connected directly to that drainage system. So that's been completed in her unit. And so there's not an issue. We also agreed to give her some money because the pump was running and we didn't think that the pump should have been running that long.
With all of the problems plaguing Miss Tutkus, she feels trapped in a broken condo. At the end of the day, there is simply no money left to work with.
I don't know where to go. I don't have anywhere to go.
She gets emotional. And when people get emotional, it's tough to reason or be rational with people. And I think since some time has gone by and she hasn't had any water in her basement, then that'll be okay.
Although Mr. Perazzo has tried to work with the bank on a solution, the bank has decided to remove his firm from the project and has hired another developer. The bank will not release details about this agreement. However, whether the development stays with Mr. Perazzo or not, Ms. Tutkus does not care, as long as her situation improves.
It's difficult. It's very difficult. You know, I joke all the time, it's only money. But basically that money that I put into this was my retirement. I mean, I'm now 61 years old and I have zero retirement. That was it.
Grant Mukai, BU10 News, Brockton.